Hello, friend Jim here with JB's Big Adventure coming to you from Lake Chapala, Mexico. And right now, there's a lot of things being going around on Facebook and social media about taxation in Mexico, taxation for those that are from the US, taxation for those in Canada. Primarily, what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be the US because that's the only place that I was able to actually get information from US that actually aligns with what's going on in Mexico. So this is going around on Facebook. There's a lot of places it's going around, and there's some really bad information to be given out. So right here, I'm going to share with you exactly the information. I've got documents and such that I'm going to share from. And so I'll be reading some of this just so the fact that you'll be able to get the gist and all the information without me missing out on anything. So first of all, I've shared before, there's over 1.6 million Americans that actually live full or part-time here in Mexico. It's the largest and number one expat community in the world, the country of Mexico. Mexico's affordable, it's close, familiar, but Americans who move or retire here are some surprised to learn that both U.S. and Mexican tax obligations continue. The U.S.-Mexico Income Tax Treaty that actually came in and signed on September the 18th of 1992 and became in force in January the 1st of 1994. And what this does is it helps prevent double taxation. That means you're taxed on whatever it is you own in the U.S. and also in Mexico. U.S. Social Security is exempt from Mexican tax under this treaty. Now, you don't want to turn the video off yet because there are going to be some things that you're going to want to know about. Any resident of the U.S. or Mexico can potentially use the tax treaty between the U.S. and Mexico. But U.S. citizens face a critical limitation. In Article 1.3, the saving clause allows the United States to tax its citizens as if the treaty had never been signed. In other words, it doesn't matter about the treaty for an American citizen because America will still get their taxes. Stating U.S. expats are still taxed for income you receive while living in Mexico. And what does that include? Earned income, profit or business income, royalty income, rental income, interest income, capital gains income, and dividend income. U.S. security benefits received by U.S. citizens in Mexico are covered by Article 19(1)(b) of the treaty. Benefits paid by one country to a resident in the other or to a U.S. citizen are taxable only in the paying country, which is saying we receive Social Security, and that Social Security is only taxed in the U.S. It's not also taxed in Mexico per this treaty. Social Security payroll taxes are excluded from the treaty under Article 2.3a. Okay, so what's really important is it all depends on how you align and how your taxes are done when it comes to the income, whether it's earned, profit, royalties, rental, interest, capital gains, or dividend. So determining the center of vital interest, which means where do you spend most of your time at? The Mexican law states that, one, if more than 50% of your income, annual income, comes from a Mexican source of wealth, your center of vital interest is in Mexico. Two, if your main center of activities is in Mexico, your center of vital interest is here. And the central vital interest is you've got to be in you've got to be in Mexico for 183 days or more in that year. So in other words, what you're doing is you're staying here more full-time than you are part-time by any means. Okay, so there's another point that summarizes the practical impact of the U.S. tax treaty for U.S. citizens. There's 5. I'm just going to read you the second one because that pertains with Social Security, which is the whole reason that this video is being done, because there are people that are really concerned about receiving their Social Security, and are they taxed on it only in the U.S. or also in Mexico? The second part says, the saving clause under Article 1.3 keeps most U.S. tax obligations in place for citizens regardless of Mexican residence. So what it's saying is it doesn't matter if you live in the U.S. or Mexico, the U.S. is still going to get taxes. So taking a look at the 5 different types of income. First, private pensions and retirement accounts. Retirement income from U.S. private pensions and retirement accounts, IRA, 401k, received by a U.S. citizen living in Mexico is taxable under U.S. domestic rules, with the Article 19 saving clause exception apply only to specific government and cross-border pension structures, not to standard U.S. domestic retirement account distributions. So that's going to be really, really important when you're looking at doing taxes and the type of income you're receiving either in Mexico or in the U.S. Number 2 is where Social Security comes in. Social Security benefits received by a U.S. citizen in Mexico are covered by Article 9(1)(b) of the treaty. Benefits paid by one country to a resident of the other or to a U.S. citizen are taxable only in the paying country. So what it's saying is that the only place that Social Security is actually taxed is in the paying company, which would be the U.S. Paying country, not company. So, real estate property taxes and capital gains. Article 6 of the treaty covers rental and real estate income, and Article 13 covers U.S.-Mexico tax treaty capital gains. This is key. Both articles allow the country where the property is located to tax the income, meaning a U.S. citizen renting or selling Mexican property faces Mexican tax on that income. So you've bought a house, you're renting it out, Mexico can tax you on that, and depending what that's like, possibly the U.S. also. That's why it's really important to have either a CPA or I suggest a tax attorney that's dealing with this for you. And what you're probably going to have to do is have somebody in Mexico and also somebody in the U.S. Okay, so we're going to go to rental income now. Under Article 6, Mexico may tax rental income derived from immovable property situated in Mexico, regardless of whether the beneficiary owner is a U.S. citizen residing in the U.S. or in Mexico. So in rental income, you'll always have to pay that in Mexico at least. Okay, so capital gains, that ends up becoming a big thing too that people ask about. Article 13 allocates capital gains taxing rights. Gains from immovable property situated in Mexico may be taxed by Mexico. Gains from shares in a company whose assets consistently are in principally of real property situated in Mexico may also be taxed in Mexico. So it's anything to do with real estate that you've got involvement in. You own properties, you're renting those properties out. There has to be tax paid that would be paid. Also, well, it can be paid in the U.S. and also in Mexico. Okay, to close this all out, there are 3 really main points I want you to know about when it comes to Social Security. To prevent double taxation, U.S. Social Security is exempt from Mexican tax under the treaty. 2, the saving clause under Article 1.3 keeps most tax obligations in place for U.S. citizens, regardless of Mexican resident. So, just because you live in Mexico doesn't mean that you don't have to pay taxes on your Social Security in the States. Now, here's another thing about that, and it'll be important for everybody to know this. There can be the chance that you don't make enough when it comes to Social Security that you're taxed on. Now, you want to make sure that you talk to your CPA or tax attorney in regards to this, but that is something that'll be important for you to know about. And the final is U.S. Social Security benefits received by a U.S. citizen in Mexico are covered by Article 19(1)(b) of the treaty. Benefits paid by one country to a resident of the other or to a U.S. citizen are taxable only in the paying country, just as I mentioned before. So it's really important for you to know that you could see stuff on Facebook, you could see stuff on social media. It isn't always the correct information, believe me. I don't know why this got on Facebook. I got the feeling that some people just want to feel, we all want to feel important. So information is shared. So it's going to be important for you to make sure of your tax liability and how that liability affects you, whether you're living in Mexico or living in the U.S. So friend, I hope that's been helpful for you. I hope those of you that have got Social Security and had placed comments on Facebook about this, just to know that it's important for you to check with your CPA, tax preparer, tax attorney, whoever that may be, to make sure that you're covered, to make sure of what you're having in fact do about your Social Security. So with that, hope it's been helpful for you. And as always, thanks you so much for being a part of this channel and supporting this community. It's great to be back. You have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next video.